Welcome to Editors Unplugged. Meghna Deka, Madhav Das, Gopala Krishnan, Shreya Dhondial here with us. And we are going to talk about urban debt traps. Just think about this. How safe are we when we step out of our homes? Tree fall can kill you, potholes, road cave-ins, electrocution. These are things that have happened in just 10-15 days in Mumbai, in Bengaluru, in other parts of the country. And this is cyclical in many ways. You know, campaigns are run, people forget. And every year it returns to, kill and haunt us. So let's open this up. Madhav, is there any solution? We can keep lamenting about it, but nothing seems to change.
Well, I think the only way is to keep talking about it. And the fact is this, that those who are the main custodians of all our urban centers, it's municipal corporations. They are the ones who are primarily tasked with doing all of these things. However, year after year, whether it's drains being desilted, whether it is ensuring that manholes are properly covered so that when places get flooded, like Mumbai, for instance, we all know during monsoons it gets flooded. And just look at the kind of instances that have been happening. People getting electrocuted to ensure the electricity department, which is supposed to ensure that there are no loose wires which can short circuit or give anyone an electric shock once the monsoon hits. All those basics somehow are always found missing. And therefore, I think it is very important for us to give this kind of an urban push to, we've always talked about smart cities. Now, how can we have smart cities if our existing cities are still continuing to function in the old way? Municipal corporations have multiple problems. Of course, one is, of course, corruption, rampant corruption. Anybody who's been to any municipal corporation across the country will tell you that people are, completely on the take. They are not doing what they're supposed to do. Budgets are there. Mind you, there are enough budgets for, if you broadly look at the kind of purposes that they're supposed to fulfill, but the implementation, the proper spending of it, the targeted spending of it, that's where things become extremely problematic. And I'm speaking very generically, I'm not talking about any one city or any one state, but by and large, that's the large problem that we have. And as our cities, start expanding, we are sitting in NCR. NCR extends now from Manesar to Meerut. It extends this side from Faridabad all the way up to Sonipat. Our urban cities completely lack any kind of planning. What is the vision for the next 25 years? As we rapidly urbanize, as people come from villages to the cities, do we have a plan? What's going to happen in NCR? How our cities are going to be? Public transport is a problem in Noida itself. For instance, if you ever, apart from the metro, beyond that, it's complete chaos. Where is the planning for these cities? What is the larger vision for this region?
Is the part two of it, but we are talking about an existential crisis. I mean, imagine playing with your life when you step out.
You know what gets my goat as a citizen? Why do I pay taxes? 30 to 40% of the salary I earn goes in taxes. Why am I paying these taxes? So that my child can die after a tree falls on his bus. That is why I'm paying taxes. So that I will die if I slip into a manhole. That is why I'm paying taxes. मैं taxes दे क्यों रही हूँ? So that my child goes out, my 17-year-old goes out in flooded Mumbai and gets electrocuted. This is why I'm giving taxes. अरे यार मुंबई का सोचो मैं कहती हूँ. बाकी cities का छोड़ो for a minute. Just think of Mumbai. This is your financial capital. Do you know Mumbai generates the maximum taxes in this country? 1/3 of India's taxes come from Mumbai. 5 trillion rupees of tax generated every year. BMC, he spoke about budget. BMC का budget कितना है? 81,000 crore rupees. It is more than at least 9 Indian states. नहीं तो मैं पैसा जा कहाँ रहा है? पेड़ की बात करो.
पैसा जा रहा है कॉन्ट्रैक्टर के पास. तो कॉन्ट्रैक्टर साहब को दे रहा है पैसा. तो रोड में क्या जाएगा? कुछ नहीं जाएगा. ये सुनो,
आपको पता है मुंबई का एक गार्डनिंग बजट होता है. इन 81,000 करोड़ में से एक गार्डनिंग बजट होता है जो जून में पेड़ काटे जाते हैं. You have to cut these trees so that because of the rains, the water, the storms, etc., they don't fall on anyone. उसका बजट पता है कितना है? 200 crore rupees. 200 crore rupees, yet you have a tree branch falling on a school bus and killing a child, an 11-year-old. उसके माँ बाप का सोचो.
And one of the biggest problems that we had is actually corruption. Funds is not a problem. No one's ever said it. BMC, it is literally the richest municipal corporation across Asia. It has literally got the amount of money that 6 entire states in India would have. That is the amount of money that BMC alone has for Mumbai, which is the finance. financial capital. Let's not forget what's happening in Bengaluru. Now you do have some people, for example, you have Krishna Bairegoda, who's out on the streets of Bengaluru. Every day he's saying the model of Bengaluru is failing if we don't pull up our socks. He is openly confronting the contractors, saying that this needs to be cleaned up. We cannot have this mafia. D.K. Shivakumar himself is talking about the mafia, saying that we need to end the garbage mafia. We are talking about Mumbai. We already know the kind of problems that is happening. Bengaluru, which is apparently the garden city, turned into a garbage city.
But the mafia flourishes.
The mafia flourishes, and my problem with here is, as even Shreya was saying, a child has lost his life. What happened? Officials have been suspended. A man fell into, in Mumbai, a man fell into a manhole. All they could find were his slippers and an umbrella. What did they do? 4 of the employees at the lower level were suspended. The mayor who stood there said there is a conspiracy behind that. Let's not even get into the political mudslinging because they have gone into denial mode. My problem is, are suspensions going to be enough? There are people like even Milind Deora who are part of the government coming out and saying that start arresting, because this is murder by negligence, murder by apathy. It's not enough saying that every time a person dies, 4 of the lowest small fish will be suspended. How is that helping? How is that stopping? We know it's not. So if you want to act, arrest.
ये जो system, so-called system है ना, एक तो no one knows what this system is and who heads this system and where is the accountability. Today something very interesting happened. The same mayor that you're talking about, Miss Ritu Tawade, ये मुंबई की mayor है. She is the same lady.
बोला conspiracy से आदमी manhole में.
That happened last time. The poor BMC worker slipped into a manhole in front of her. She said this is a political conspiracy to defame me. ठीक है, the same mayor. Today, when a child has been killed, when this 17-year-old girl has been electrocuted, comes out and says, culpable homicide के charges against those who are responsible. भैया, responsible तो आप हैं. You are the mayor of this city.
It's also a mindset problem because, you see, when people step out to vote, these things don't matter. Now we are talking about it because these are fresh incidents. But we also, I mean, how much can the media also do? We have other things so much to cover. So we keep going from one topic to the other. But people outrage for a few days and then they forget because
that's not always true. I remember, because my vintage is, Madhav and I, our vintage is different from you. We are way older. I remember, do you remember this? That in Madhya Pradesh, Uma Bharati lost an election because of bad roads. तो ऐसा नहीं है, नहीं होता accountability. Accountability होती है, people do pay, politicians do pay the price, but in Mumbai certainly
no, what I wanted to say that this is, first of all, this is not a Mumbai specific problem. Like Madhav sir said, it's a pan-India problem. Yeah. And moreover, the way, the way netas take it so easily. Chalta hai. Remember that speech from by Prime Minister Modi from the ramparts of the Red Fort. I think it was his first Republic Day address. Yeah. Where he said that, or Independence Day address, what Independence Day address. So he said, Chalta hai attitude, mera kya, mujhe kya, ye bystanders dekh rahe hain. तो ये जो है ये नीचे से ऊपर जाती है because voters don't care. Netas have it easy.
Abhi, there's a video that is viral because we are talking about what has happened currently. There's a video that is viral from inside the Maharashtra Assembly where there is one MLA who is saying, "Kal pothole mein mara, aaj manhole mein mara." This is from the ruling dispensation, and the other MLA who's standing with him is from the opposition, is smiling, and both of them are smiling and talking. तो किसी को फर्क नहीं पड़ता, उन लोगों को फर्क नहीं पड़ता.
Absolutely, and I think what you said, the Chalta hai attitude which you articulated and cited, I think it's best, sort of enunciated by the Maharashtra minister when that young boy died due to tree fall. पेड़ तो गिरते रहते. That is the lack of responsibility, attitude towards public safety that our ruling dispensations have. The people who are supposed to be sensitive, who are supposed to be bothered about why children are dying, why adults are dying. If that is the attitude, and just look at it, if you look at our structure of governance, there's central government, we have state governments, and then at the very lowest level, you have the panchayats and the municipalities which govern your local issues, your water supply, your sewage, and these are all very important aspects. There are cities in India where there are entire buildings, but there are no sewage lines. The water supply comes by a truck, the sewage also goes out by a truck.
So what happens? You have flats which they are selling for 150 crore rupees, And outside, it's literally like a river because everything is inundated. You have the camellias, you have the dahlias.
Yeah.
These are such expensive penthouses. Imagine you are spending 100 crores to buy a house like that. You step out, you can't even step out of your own apartment because your roads literally are inundated. Storm water drains are not even clean.
Absolutely.
But one of the worst, and you're absolutely right about it. It's not just about let's wake up when people start dying. In Bihar, they made a road because there was a problem with the clearances. इसने road clearing का आया नहीं एक clearance, दूसरे वाले ने contract तो दे दिया मगर उसमें से पेड़ काटने का clearance नहीं आया. So they made a road for 100 crore rupees, mind you, of the taxpayers' money. People like you and me had paid it. We funded it. 100 crore की road बनाई और बीच में उन्होंने पेड़ छोड़ दिया. Because there was no permission to cut the trees. They didn't get that from the forest department. तो urban जो highway का उनका department था, they built a road despite
वो तो
that.
sustainable model है.
In Bihar, there is a 90-degree का एक bridge बना दिया.
That reminds me.
Whoever passed these plans, basic चीज होती है. I'm not an engineer. I can tell you कि 90-degree पे bridge नहीं बनने वाली.
Meghna, you are talking about Bihar. यहाँ देख लो, Delhi to Dehradun वाला the expressway, which was inaugurated exactly 80 days ago. Two such massive potholes going completely viral. Completely viral. मतलब accidents होते होते बचे वहाँ पे. For the first, it's 80 days. It was inaugurated by the Prime Minister 80 days ago. What is the kind of construction we are doing where a high-profile expressway has two massive potholes which are causing, almost accidents. Abhi tak accident to hua nahi, but almost accidents.
Remember the CWG, the Commonwealth Games. So one of the things that happened was this entire area where our studios are, outside Film City, which goes towards Akshardham and Mayur Vihar, that road was broadened. A lot of flyovers were built. So they had planned in the middle of that to construct an overbridge so that pedestrians could cross over. Unfortunately, they didn't take into account the fact that this road would also be widened. So there would be equally wide road. So what ended up happening is that from that side to the middle of the divider, there is a bridge, a pedestrian over bridge. And I remember it was a front page photo and a headline saying that the bridge to the middle of the road. So that is where our planning as a country is. And, attitudes at the lowest level. Modi ji and the ministers of this dispensation may want to change things at the top level. But at the bottom level, how do you change this approach towards planning?
By fixing accountability.
Absolutely.
Whoever this contractor is.
And accountability is not suspension.
One-fourth bridge.
is given the contract by a municipal officer or a government officer. What about that officer who's given that contract? What is the accountability about these people?
First, if there is corruption, the contractor and let the contractor then say that money exchange hands, I paid.
But what happens? Practically, what happens? Practically, if you find somebody has done something wrong, you will suspend that person or transfer that person. That's all that happens.
That's
to
an
officials.
eyewash.
Exactly. So there has to be a system.
When was the last time there was an arrest of a senior bureaucrat, arrest of some senior secretary or some minister for culpable homicide, as they are calling it today? And that doesn't happen. So karke dikha. If there is the intention,
those charges should be put against her.
Year after year, and let's not forget, ये सब जो हो रहा है ना in monsoon season, this fury that we are talking about, nature's fury तो है ही नहीं. Because let's not forget that this time around the monsoon deficit is real. Mumbai में 52% monsoon deficit में, these are the deaths, at least 4 that I can remember in the last 2 days.
But monsoon has nothing to do with this. This is a
Precisely.
compliance
This is
issue.
This is where it all comes out. Because the system collapses. Your sewage drainage is non-existent. You don't desilt your drains on time. You sometimes say, "Arey, Delhi में इसलिए flood हुआ क्योंकि इससे पहले इतनी बारिश नहीं हुई." So who's to account for that? Who's to plan for this?
People don't talk about it. People in localities can clearly see what is happening. For example, in Mumbai, where the 17-year-old girl got electrocuted, since June 15th, it seems, locals had been screaming their heads off, requesting the power department to come and fix these electricity lines that were just hanging around. 15 days, nothing happens. Now this young girl is dead. Now 4 power department officials have been suspended and this culpable homicide wali baat is coming. अरे भैया लोग तो बोल रहे थे ना 15 दिन से चिल्ला रहे थे. You could have fixed it. You should have fixed it. It's your job. You get paid to do it. Fact is कि our municipalities don't want to do their job. You remember Morbi? अभी accountability की बात कर रहे हो ना? 4 साल पहले, you remember what happened in Morbi? There is a bridge that collapses. Almost 200 people died that day. Huh? How many municipal officers were arrested or charges put against them? क्या हुआ उनका? कुछ नहीं. Nothing.
Statistics बन जाते हैं,
And Rajendra Nagar, look at what happened in Rajendra Nagar. young students who are there for the coaching classes, they get caught in this flood for absolutely no reason. Why? Because again, the drains are not desilted. Who was held accountable over there? Was anybody arrested?
No, Lucknow fire?
Another
Fire
example.
Delhi
compliance is a big
hospital
issue.
fire?
Fire compliance.
Telling me about it.
And
I'm living in an apartment where there was a fire in another tower. And the tower, there was a 12th floor where the fire was. The fire department guys reached and their fire hose only reached the 5th floor. So it was the building maintenance boys who were completely covered in soot. They were the ones who actually put out the fire. If they were not, imagine if those sprinkler system or the hose system was not working.
Who gave the permission to build a building when we
Exactly.
don't
The
have
authority.
the
Very good question.
infrastructure
You give them money
to
and they give
actually
you
go up to
permission.
that floor?
So 20 to 30 floors
Imagine
is common now.
a fire brigade, essentially, and you must explain this for anyone who's not seen the visual. I remember that very clearly. There was a fire on the building. You had the fire brigade ka ladder going up to halfway through the building. Aag yahan lagi thi, and till here they couldn't reach any further.
Exactly.
And they had that little squirty little fire hose, and they were trying to put it out
Up to the
with
5th
that.
floor. So that's actually a very important point that everybody needs to consider. You have your model of growth is no vertical growth. All your cities will grow vertically. But do you have the infrastructure, basic firefighting? The fire department, I mean, there are multiple fire calls in peak of summer season, but they don't have the adequate infrastructure to reach the top floors. So what typically happens is they go to another tower and start, spraying fire. But what if there's no tower which is adjacent to that particular building? What do you do in such a situation? There's also the problem of encroachment, etc. But even if the fire tender reaches, if they don't have the kind of ability, who's making the plans for these kind of cities? It's like what happened in Sector 150, where the state, or what is it called? Disaster Management, SDRF, reached and they started bickering about who would go into the water to save that boy. And that boy was screaming. And they kept bickering through the night. The father was standing. So if the authorities are supposed to rescue, who are supposed to, ensure public safety, if that is the state of these authorities, then God save all of us.
The understanding is rules are on paper. Hone do, they can all be flouted. Compliance, for example. Ever since I've become a journalist and all the fires that we have covered, and we have covered many, especially during the summer months, especially in buildings, residential or commercial, for the last 20 years, one cause of death, exit and entry, same. No separate exit and exit. Yeah. For the last 20 years, in the last 20 years, our municipalities and our local governments have not been able to ensure that har commercial or residential building ka exit or entry alag ho.
How will they make the money?
How will they make the money?
If they are on the tape.
20 साल से ये चल रहा है. ऐसा नहीं है कि fire पहली बार लग रही है or people are dying in a manhole for the first time or people are getting electrocuted for the first time. 20 साल से one common factor in every residential and commercial fire where people die in large numbers, entry exit say.
Because it's a complete nexus. It's not one person. In fact, nowadays, the biggest trend on all these YouTubers and influencers is that they go to the fancy and rich, big palatial homes and they do those walkthroughs you must have seen. So there is one specific YouTuber, and I remember this very clearly, went to a house which looked like a palace in Indore. It belonged to a government contractor. It had a 10-bedroom bungalow showcased with
gold
huge
switchboards, I remember.
This thing. It had gold ke switchboards, gold ke faucets. He was washing hands with gold ka tap. Every electricity switchboard was in gold.
Yeah, but this officer was more foolish than corrupt.
He was a contractor. He was not an officer.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying, that it's not just about one person. He's a contractor. He's actually come on record and shown it. And there are these people, influencers, who are going and doing tours of his house. Uske ghar pe golden fan lage, gold ke fans lage hai, gold ke faucets and taps lage hai. That is just one contractor. And this is a house in Indore. Probably not even Mumbai, which is the financial city.
Contractors in Bengaluru have now famously told us कि पैसा कहाँ जाता है. They come and do press conferences to say that it is the government and ministers and 30% money and 40% money goes to ministers. So यहाँ जो हम contractor की gold switches की बात कर रहे हैं, imagine the sort of wealth netas have made.
Of course.
And this is murder. Then, what we are seeing in Mumbai, what we saw in Lucknow, what we saw in Delhi, ये ना death नहीं है. Civic apathy हम बोलते हैं, death because of civic apathy. ये death नहीं है, ये murder है.
This is state killing individuals.
This is murder.
You're absolutely right. And you know what? I wonder sometimes when these people, government officials, वो भी तो retire होंगे. They will have to use the same, infra. They'll have relatives, their loved ones, family members, etc. So they don't think about these things.
Absolutely.
Because, you know, when we get retired government officials to come on our programs, they sound so helpless. But when they were in power,
what did they do?
Yeah.
That's a very important question. In fact, perhaps some of them make enough money to bribe their way when they're retired also. But, you know, it's a larger system. I mean, you know, the very fact that we mentioned this particular person's got caught. So the person who gets caught is the one who's corrupt. But what about the hundreds or the thousands of those who are getting away? And as a system, as a nation, we also have to wonder about, as you rightly said, whether it's public infrastructure, the roads we walk on, the metros we use, that's something that we all use as a society. It is not restricted to any one individual or party or society, etc. Why can't we be a little more responsible when it comes to something that affects the greater common good? That approach and that mentality, unfortunately, does not exist. And that's something we have to change as a society. And it cuts across states and cities.
I think, you know, corruption is, even now, is not a stigma in our society. And that needs to change.
Yes.
Now, imagine if the government contractor or the, you know, or the government employee, civic body chief or whatever, engineer, etc., is staying in one locality and you happen to be, you know, in the neighborhood or the next door neighbor. You must, you know, as collectively, people there in groups, as society, we must, you know, shame them.
मुझे लगता है we don't have pride. मुझे ऐसा लगता है we don't have pride as a people in our cities.
Yeah.
In our country, वो pride होती है. आप अपना घर भी तो साफ रखते हो ना. अपना घर में भी तो you ensure that all your electric wiring is fine, right? Right. You know, if there is pride, I mean, I don't know how many of you have been to Bhutan. Bhutan में everyone carries a little plastic की थैली, ठीक है, or whatever थैली, and wherever they see any litter, they will pick it up and keep it in their theli. Children on Sundays, young people on Sundays go through their forested areas, and tourists जो होते हैं वो जितना bottle, chips के packet, etc., all the litter and gandagi, they will pick it up and put it in the thelis. Now, no one tells them to do this, but there is a certain pride in their country.
Absolutely.
There is a certain pride in their
But
city.
it's also
Where is that pride in us?
So the Japanese
Where is the pride in
fans
us?
at FIFA, they go to the stadium there and they
Correct.
picked up after them. It is inculcated that that's what you do. If you litter, you pick it up.
Pride hoti
And
na,
for
people
us,
would have done their jobs.
What we know is
that
red
one
tapeism.
BMC official would have had the pride that this is my city. I am going to ensure कि ये जो सारे पेड़ हैं mid-June तक कट जाएं, so that no child dies because a tree falls on them.
Yeah.
Where is that pride in us as citizens?
Absolutely. And it cuts across economic classes. It's not like lack of education
Correct.
or lack of economic status.
Yeah,
is the reason
education
for it.
is nothing.
The richest and the middle class societies of any city will be actually the filthiest. There will be actually places where people are not picking up things. Or if they are actually clean, it's perhaps because the municipal cooperation, because of the influential people there, they've been able to get that place cleaned up. So in terms of responsibility, I think it's a mentality that cuts across economic
Madhav,
strata
I'm making a
and
larger
status
point.
of
I'm
education.
saying where is the pride in that BMC commissioner or the BMC official to say this is my city and I am going to fix it?
So the problem is that commissioner or that official has probably paid a bribe to get to that post. So he wants to recover those crores back.
Ma'am, वो तो commission लेगा.
There's only greed, very little pride.
And P for paisa for them, not pride. So, and it's clear. I mean, this is not, like I said, not a Mumbai problem. This is, you're all around us. Now, you can pick up garbage and put it in a plastic bag. वो तो next step है, like I've been saying. But पहले smart से पहले हम safe तो हो जाए.
And you know what the problem is? When you ask for accountability, the way they come around, you have your politicians who are like, हमने तो इतना development work किया है. Have you seen the infra that we are building? You should see what wonderful job we are doing. How are you doing it? This is money from that you have taken from us. Let's not forget, you're not doing us a favor. You know, and this is cutting across political party lines, this is cutting across which government it is, cutting across states. They come and pretend it's a favor that they have done to you by taking money from you that you have earned, you are paying in your taxes, that they are actually working. We are being asked to feel grateful that our money is actually being put to use, even if it is, as some of them will openly tell you in the government corridors, कि ठीक है थोड़ा बहुत खा लो कुछ तो काम कर लो.
Yeah, but you know what she said about pride, I completely agree. That as a nation, as a people, we certainly have to inculcate that in our work ethic and in what we do 24/7. You know, whether it's littering, whether it's pollution, whether it's a basic way that we deal with things and our responsibility. But also there's another very important thing. If you travel abroad to the developed countries, there's also a sense of how is the entire experience as a user. For instance, you can use one card to travel by bus, by road, by train, etc., etc. Your entire infrastructure is seamless. You go from one building to a station to catching a taxi to getting to the airport.
last mile connectivity.
Everything is there are no gaps. There is eligibility, and particularly in the tourist areas. Here we are not even able to do that in our tourist areas. Look at a state like Goa, for instance, where the infrastructure has completely gone to the dogs over the last few years. Anyone who's been to Goa will tell you that from the roads, the taxis, to the cabs. So we as a country, especially if we want more people to come in, to bring in revenue, and there's so much of tourism. India's perhaps the best country.
I blame all of us, you know, the people. If we start taking seriously, start talking about it more often than we do already.
Just have pride in your country, in your city.
Yeah.
Simple. We'll all do our jobs.
Let's hope things improve. You know, we'll be tracking and we'll be talking about urban debt traps, hopefully, you know, as we go along and try and fix accountability. Thanks for watching. Let us know what you think of this.